I'm Richard Taylor. I'm here at the WETA workshop. We had the great pleasure of looking after conceptual design, armour and weapons, and creature scannable maquettes on Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe for 3 years. I very much consider that good film starts with good design. We have 8 full-time designers and 12 full-time sculptors that are conceptualizing the look of a project that we're on. It all starts with illustration, quick, fervent exploration through sketch art into the world. But very, very quickly we then develop that into colour art, into very beautiful illustrative concept art. Influences of design are inspired by the mythology that C.S. Lewis was drawing from, right back through Grecian times into so many diverse cultures of our own world. One of the things that we try and do with our design work is develop all of the cultures within a world. Then you can solidify the reality of that world, because it suggests that the characters on screen are not existing in the moment that they were filmed, but actually have a life well beyond or existing before that moment.
There's the pole arms of the goblins. So you can see very different cultural references in those two weapons, but they're there to do exactly the same job.
How did the Minotaur ultimately come to be, and how did these wonderful array of mythological creatures exist and survive and have a community within the world of Narnia? One of the things that we've strive to achieve with our work is a sense of factual reality, a gritty realism, that the actors are not being handed a prop with which to act with, but rather that they will live or die by their success with which they can wield the sword. Making the weapons look aged, putting life into them, rubbing back the leather, making sure that they don't feel fresh and highly polished, so that the weapons, the armour, the props feel like they live and belong in that world, is all important aspects of the process.
There's a great weapon down here. This is the two-handed axe that the Minotaur carry, which is a huge piece of weaponry. Certainly open a few cans with that.
We split our weapons off into 3 very designated groups. Hero, we call them hero weapons. These are the weapons that an actor will hold for tight close-ups. They're made as closely to how a weapon would have been made in the medieval era. The only difference being that we're using power tools to grind away the metal rather than a foot-turned grinding wheel. Next weapon is an aluminium or aluminum bladed weapon with a urethane handle. This is for close-up stunt fighting. They're incredibly light, but they look very, very real. And then the third weapon that we make is a totally urethane weapon. This is a material very similar to skateboard wheel rubber. And this allows us to produce weapons in very, very large numbers very quickly that still look very accurate on screen.
And these are really beautiful weapons. These are pole arms that are carried by the fawns. We've made 2 different sorts of these, and they're completely urethane once again.
But of course, in turn, it still has to look totally real, and that comes down to the great skills of Surasak, our senior painter, and his crew to put those paint finishes onto the surface that will look wooden and metallic to the camera. Armour is a surprisingly pesky thing when you come to film it. It's metallic, therefore it's reflective. And in a real battle, in the real medieval era, it didn't matter that the world was reflected in this beautiful, polished, round piece of armour. But of course, on screen, the last thing you want to reflect is what's in front of me right here. The director, the cameraman, the crew, the city of Auckland. We put a very subtle hammer blow over the surface of the armour. It puts a little tiny round dent over the whole surface, and that shatters the reflection. But it still will reflect a broken surface of the camera crew and camera. So we went through a very difficult process of developing just the right reflective quality to the surface of the armour that would give the correct reading on film, look as though it's majestic and handmade and in steel and replicating of a real authentic suit of armour, while staying away from reflecting the whole crew to the rest of the world. As the film draws to an end, it's the worst part of the process. People always say to me, "Oh God, you must be so pleased it's nearly finished. You can sleep, you can rest." But it's not like that at all. You've had this opportunity, you've got to know this amazing group of people, you've got to explore this incredible world, make lots of cool things. It's almost like you have been away on this amazing holiday with a group of friends and are exploring the most outrageous and wonderful parts of the world, and now you're having to come back to work.